Durbin.
Thanks for being here. That reference that I opened up with, that you made in your book to a strategy, a message strategy for Meta, and someone suggested tobacco as kind of the guideline that you might want to follow, some dangerous product that was lessened in intensity to the public by misrepresentations. As I mentioned at the outset, I was part of the effort to bring them down. Didn't realize I'd reached a tipping point with smoking on airplanes, but it turned out to be one, and things changed. You make a reference as well in the book that a lot of the executives at Facebook protected their own children from what might have been an exploitation, which you've described here, the algorithm that analyzes your activity on the board and says, well, just deleted a selfie, good time for an ad. Somebody had put that together. So these executives at Facebook protected their own kids from that kind of exploitation, correct?
Senator, that was one of the things that shocked me when I moved to Silicon Valley, is that it's a place full of, wooden Montessori toys, and, executives would always speak about how they have screen bans in the house, or, I would say, oh, has your teen used the new product we're about to launch? And they're like, my teenager's not allowed on Facebook. I don't have my teenager on Instagram. Like, these executives, they know the harm that this product does. They don't allow their own teenagers to use the products that Meta develops. I mean, the hypocrisy is at every level.
So I wanted to just tell you a follow-up to that story. Eventually, the children of tobacco executives became my greatest fans and supporters. And they would basically shame their parents by saying that, the kids at school are saying this, or I just heard something, or I read something. Dad, tell me that you aren't part of that tobacco conspiracy to keep the truth from the American people. They became a force, a moral force in the conversation. It'd just be speculation, but I hope that that is the case here as well.
I hope you're right, Senator.
I read these things, and so I want to ask you a question that is more generic, but I'm just curious as to the decision process at the highest levels. When there is a decision being made about what you're going to turn over, what Facebook, Meta, is going to turn over to the Chinese, all their demands that you said the company denied to so many other countries, but for China, they made an exception. When the decision is being made about exposing American privacy material and data so that the Chinese would have access to it, Americans not knowing that. The security questions that you raised, the AI information is given to the Chinese that makes them, quote, more competitive, but also means that they have sources of information that could compromise the security of the United States. I mean, when you consider each one of these, they kind of grow in gravity and magnitude. Are these decisions being made strictly by Zuckerberg himself, or by boards, or by open discussion? How much sensitivity was there to the fact that the decisions were historic in nature and maybe even criminal?
It's a really interesting question. You asked me in part about China. To give you just one example, at the governance level, which is what you're asking me, the lead independent director on Meta's board was also on the payroll for the China project.
So that they had dual loyalty?
I think the question around accountability and governance of this company and of tech companies more generally, there needs to be a lot more accountability. I don't think the current governance structures are anywhere close to being sufficient.
Tell me that there were people at that company that you worked with that didn't sell out.
Absolutely. There were amazing people, and there are people who were horrified and had very strong moral conscience. And there are many of these people who've been in touch who, since these revelations have come out, have said, I was in those meetings. I remember this. There were people who spoke up. There were people. I regret to say that many of the people who spoke up are no longer at the company, but there are good people there, and there are people who have moral beliefs, and there certainly were. But that wasn't happening at the top of the company. That wasn't happening at the executive level. And what was striking was the absence of those types of discussions at the top of the company compared to what was happening with your average people who are working at the company.
And you say Mr. Zuckerberg himself prides himself on being a loyal American?
I think Mr. Zuckerberg would say he does.
Yes.
But I don't want to speak for him.
No, of course not. But I think the evidence that you've given us points in the other direction. Lying to Congress may be in the realm of a mortal sin, depending on your faith conviction, but certainly selling out the security and privacy of the United States is about as low as they go when it comes to big tech. Have you been in any conversations involving Section 230?
No, Senator.
All right. Well, that's certainly a law that we're taking a close look at here, which shields companies like this from personal civil liability. Many of us believe the committee has voted accordingly that if they could be held accountable for their decisions in a court of law and find damages, money to money, that this would have more impact than some of the best speeches we could put together as members of Congress. So we're going to work on that. But, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for this hearing, but I particularly thank you because you've referred to in your testimony what you call in the book 3 pistols, which I think is your reference to your 3 children. You've done a great thing for them and for kids all across the world. Thank you for testifying today.
Thank you, Senator.